What's up again, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to Ages of Film. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 9 Paul Thomas Anderson films. But before I get into this video, just a couple of quick reminders. Number one, while you're here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and join the pack. Secondly, this is just my opinion on these movies. There's no need to be upset or offended by anything I have to say. If you've seen all 9 of Paul Thomas Anderson films, let me know your ranking in the comments section. What is your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film? Let me know. I've done a number of these director filmography rankings. I have a playlist with different directors that I've done. Paul Thomas Anderson, great filmmaker, has done a couple of films that I just love. The top 2 movies here are, 2 of my favorite films of all time. So great filmmaker, great director. I thought I'd get in and rank all his films. So that's what we're going to do. As always, we're going to go worst to best. And let's get rocking. So coming in at number 9, we have Inherent Vice from 2014. Stars Joaquin Phoenix. This would be the only movie on this list that I would say not a very good film. I would give this like 2 stars. I think that it gets 2 stars. It is on the positive note because of the quality. It is a very well-made movie. Quality-wise, production-wise, Paul Thomas Anderson has beautiful cinematography, great color patterns, production design, sound, all that stuff is on point. The issue for me here is more in the story. There is a vision here by Paul Thomas Anderson. He's very clearly telling a particular story. It kind of has to do with the inevitability of change, the change in culture, change in society, change in life and relationships. And, the main actor, Doc, or the main character, Doc, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is trying to deal with the loss of a relationship in the midst of change. And how do you adapt to that? So there is a vision there. I personally just don't find any of the characters interesting, and I don't really care for the story. The story doesn't really have any weight to it for me. It's not a story I really connect with. It's not really a story that's relatable to me. And then, the characters just don't really do it for me. So when you don't have characters that you connect with or that you really find all that interesting or entertaining, along with a story that you just don't really connect to or relate to in any way, it kind of takes you out of the film. I feel the runtime of this movie. It's about 2.5 hours, and it feels every minute of that just because I'm checked out. I'm disconnected from the characters in the story here. So it drags for me. And for that, I can only give this 2 stars. It doesn't get anything lower than that because there is quality to the production of the film. The character, story, rewatch, emotional effect, none of that is really there for me. So Inherent Vice, number 9, 2-star film. Coming in at number 8, we have his most recent film, Licorice Pizza. I think this was from just a couple of years ago. This would be a good film. I would give this like a 3-star rating. I would say this is a good film. It is a film that I like. I do think it's, Paul Thomas Anderson does a really good job at adding layers to his stories. There's not just surface level stuff in his films. His films are usually very deep and dense with meaning and story. I think this one, shows the complexities of growth from adolescence into adulthood and kind of finding your place in the world, having ideas of what you want to aspire to be and what you want to aspire to do, and growing into yourself, growing into being who you will become. And, we follow these 2 characters, a guy and a girl, and we see the complexities of human relationships as you mature and as you grow into yourself. You might have an interest in somebody, but does life lead you to them? Does the circumstances of your life and who you're going to be allow that person to remain in your life, you know? And so it's a very interesting story. I think Paul Thomas Anderson tells it very well. There's definitely layers to it. I like the film. It just doesn't get really any higher for me because I just don't know that the characters themselves are that interesting to me. You know, they're not characters that I think about. They're not characters that linger on my mind. There's not really anything about them that I find really cool or engaging or, you know, really interesting. So I don't have an urge or desire to come back and visit this film. And then there's some pacing issues. You know, there's moments where I get kind of bored, kind of checked out because again, the characters, I'm not like fully invested with them all the way through. So good film, 3 stars. It would be number 8 for me. Coming in at number 7, we have Phantom Thread from, I believe it was 2016, stars Daniel Day-Lewis. This is a really good film. We're going up another tier to 3.5. I do think this is a very solid film. I do really enjoy it. I think it's, you know, again, deep meaning about, you know, kind of the internal struggles of letting go of certain patterns and behaviors of your life in order to let love in order to accept love, in order to allow yourself to find love and be loved. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis's character has been stuck in his routine of life and his patterns of life for so long that when this girl comes into his life, he wants to find love, but he also has incredible insecurities. And he's lost people in his life. And so he has that kind of fear of opening up again. And along the way, he has to learn that the only way he's going to be able to find or experience that love is by letting go and allowing himself to open up. And so I do think there's an interesting story there that is relatable. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis, the GOAT. I mean, the guy's, you know, arguably the greatest actor of all time, at least in that conversation. And so he does a great job. The actress who plays alongside him does a great job. It's a very good film. That particular genre or subject isn't necessarily something that, you know, I'm going to come back to a whole lot. And the characters themselves, again, you know, not the most memorable characters or, you know, entertaining characters. I'm entertained, but I'm more entertained in the story and how it's playing out over against the characters, if that makes sense. Like, the story to me is more entertaining in how it's playing out than the characters are. So, but a very good film, Phantom Thread. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen it, 3.5, it's number 7 for me. Coming in at number 6, I have Boogie Nights. Now, I'll just go ahead and say this is a 4-star film. The next several movies on this list are 4-star films. These are all great films, in my opinion. And a lot of these were really close. And I was really just kind of having to try to justify their place in this ranking. I love Boogie Nights. It's a great film, even though it's down here towards the bottom. When we're talking about Paul Thomas Anderson, I mean, that's not really a knock because he's done so many great films that even his number 6 out of 9 is still a 4-star film. It's still a great film. So the quality here is still very, very good. Boogie Nights, great film. Young Mark Wahlberg. Philip Seymour Hoffman is great. Burt Reynolds. It's got quite the ensemble of cast and actors in it. A great film. I think what holds it back some for me is the setting here, and the whole kind of story about this character that's in the porn industry. And I get what Paul Thomas Anderson is doing. You know, it's a story about ambition and the consequences of trying to pursue your dreams. You know, sometimes we get in our own heads and think we have these dreams and these visions and these ideas that sound glamorous and great, but once we get into them, they're not as, you know, glamorous as we may have thought that they were. And sometimes we get in over our heads because we're too ambitious. We're too focused on external things that we kind of lose ourselves, and we lose what's actually most important in life, and that's relationships and love for others. And so I think that I don't know that I necessarily care about the setting here being, you know, this character in the porn industry. It just feels kind of dirty and crass and not really, you know, a ride that I care to go down very often. Now, I do think that Paul Thomas Anderson makes the story entertaining with all the pieces he puts in place to tell the story. The actors, the chemistry, the pacing, the camera work. It's, you know, he makes it entertaining, but this isn't really story or a film, I should say, that I want to come back to often and revisit. You know, it's a great film. When I do sit down and watch it, I recognize, you know, it's a great film. I have a good time with it overall. But yeah, 4-star film, Boogie Nights, number 6. Coming in at number 5, we have Punch Drunk Love, starring Adam Sandler in a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Who would have thunk it? We got Philip Seymour Hoffman in here as well. Does a very good job. So I love Punch Drunk Love. This is a 4-star film as well. For me, this is a Superman movie. It is. It's a Superman movie. When you think about the story, it's the Superman story. It's this guy, this character played by Adam Sandler, who is this guy who's very out of place in his life, just like Superman, very out of place in society. In his Clark Kent life, he feels very out of place, very out of touch, as Adam Sandler's character is in this film. You also have Adam Sandler that has, you know, Superman type of strength. We see him breaking glass with his bare hands. We see him crushing this instrument or this tool or whatever that's supposed to be unbreakable, and yet he breaks it by himself. Now they make it comedic. It's the Superman story being told in a comedic way with Adam Sandler. But you think of Adam Sandler's love interest in this film, Lena Leonard. What are her initials? LL. What's Superman's love interest? Lois Lane. What are her initials? LL. So Adam Sandler's love interest have the same initials that Superman's love interest does. Adam Sandler has this strength, this supernatural type of strength. Adam Sandler is this guy that feels very out of place in his life. He also is wearing all blue all throughout the film, just like Superman's suit is all blue. Adam Sandler is in all blue. There's even a scene where he's running and he goes to jump over this barricade. It's shot in a very comedic way, but as he jumps, he even does the Superman pose where he goes to, like, almost looks like he's going to fly over the barricade. Speaking of flying, we also see Adam Sandler's character be able to essentially have the power of flight, because he has these frequent flyer markers that allow him to fly anywhere in the world. And we see him even go from one setting to another setting in the next scene because he flew there by himself. He doesn't take any luggage or anything, just like Superman doesn't take luggage with him when he flies somewhere. Adam Sandler's character doesn't take anything. We just see him in one setting, and then he flies over to another location, and again, he's there by himself. So if you watch the movie carefully, you start connecting the dots with Adam Sandler's character and with Superman, even to the point where when you think about Superman's story, he's disconnected from his family, and the place where his family comes from, Krypton, is where kryptonite is formed, which is essentially his Achilles heel. Adam Sandler's character in the movie is disconnected from his family, and his family is always in green. His sisters are wearing green, which would represent kryptonite, and they are his Achilles heel. So there's a lot of parallels with Adam Sandler's character and with Superman. It's basically the Superman story told in a comedy type of film and in a comedic type of way with Adam Sandler. It's a great film. It's brilliantly made, brilliantly directed. I have a lot of fun with it. Punch Drunk Love is my number 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Hard 8. This was Paul Thomas Anderson's first feature film. I think it's from like 96 or 97 maybe. I love this movie. I think it's incredibly dense and deep. I think there's a lot going on in the film. I'm very much engaged, very much entertained by it. I forget the actor's name who plays the lead role in this film. But it also has John C. Reilly, who I love, a young Gwyneth Paltrow. But it's a great film, essentially following the main character here, who's actually kind of the villain. Like it's actually following the antagonist throughout the film, not the protagonist. It's the antagonist story, and it's basically, you know, this cold narcissistic view of humanity, and it shows kind of that cold narcissistic side of life and of man, you know, and kind of shows how our nature is to pursue evil, but yet we cover it up with outwardly sophistication and charm, you know. And that's just what this character, the main character, does in this film. Is he acts on the outside like he's very sophisticated, very charming, has it all together, you know, is on top of everything, seems very, you know, confident and all this stuff, has all this stuff put together, but internally he's actually very dark and very very dangerous. You know, we find out as the film plays out that there's a lot of vice that this guy's actually into and creating. And I think the last shot of this film is a brilliant, just masterful directing and storytelling, because the very last scene of this film tells you what the story is really about. If you're paying attention and you're thinking philosophically what the meaning of the story is, the very last shot, the main character sitting in this restaurant, he's got the suit on and he's going to drink, you know, his cup of coffee, and he notices a little drop of blood on his sleeve jacket from what had just happened previously, and which he was responsible for. And what does he do? He covers it up by pulling his jacket sleeve over his shirt sleeve. He covers up the vice and the evil that's going on internally. And that's just what's in the heart of man. You know, we try to cover up our evil. We try to cover up our vice. We try to cover up what's actually going on internally. So it's a brilliant shot. It's a brilliant film. Very much engaged with it. I think it's a incredible feature film debut for a director, and Paul Thomas Anderson fought tooth and nail to try to get this made and try to keep his vision, and I think it worked out because it's a great film. So Hard 8 is number 4 for me. Coming in at number 3, we have The Master, Joaquin Phoenix, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams. Great film. Again, very dense, very deep stuff going on. There's a number of ways to kind of interpret this film. The way I always kind of interpret it, and I saw this in theaters in 2012 when it came out. I liked it, but I didn't really understand it. And as the years have gone by, watched this film a few more times and noticed a lot more with it. I think Joaquin Phoenix character, he's the main character. Freddy, he's the main character that we're following. It's his story, and I think this film shows the natural impulses of man when we don't have control of our impulses and don't have control of who we are and what we are. We see kind of the recklessness that we can get into and we can create, and how those impulses can't really be tamed because the human nature, the human heart can't really be tamed. We are who we are. It's inevitable. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, and the way that I read this film, is a projection of who the main character, Joaquin Phoenix's character, Freddy, wants to be. And he's supposed to symbolize the ideal man, the ideal person that we as humans want to be. Sophisticated, put together, in control of everything, rich, well respected, disciplined. He's everything that Freddy is not. And that's who we strive to be. We want to be our own master. We want to be in charge and in control of everything, and yet we're not. So it's a very deep, dense film. There's a lot going on, and I think the acting is brilliant. I think the direction by Paul Thomas Anderson is brilliant. I think the story is brilliant. It's a great film. Love The Master, and it's number 3 for me. And coming in at number 2, and I'll just go ahead and say my top 2 here are both 5-star films. In my opinion, these are both perfect movies. My number 2 is Magnolia. Magnolia, if you have not seen Magnolia, get on that. It is an incredible film, one of the greatest screenplays and scripts ever written. Paul Thomas Anderson just nails it. He nails it. An incredibly emotional film. I think this is definitely the most emotional of Paul Thomas Anderson films, the one that hits the hardest, has the hardest emotional punch to it. Story really, about the sins of the father shall be visited upon the son. There's a number of different father figures in this film who have hurt their either son or their daughter, and it's a story with a bunch of different stories going on, a film with a bunch of different stories and characters that you're following along the way. And each of these characters the main characters have a father that has hurt them in some way. And it's a story about regret and forgiveness and reconciliation. And it's an incredibly powerful film, emotional film. I think it's maybe Tom Cruise's best performance of his career. I know that's saying a lot because the guy's been in a lot of great films. I don't ever remember seeing a Tom Cruise performance that got me the way that his performance in this film gets me. So yeah, it's I would say probably Cruise's best performance. John C. Reilly is phenomenal in this film. His character is great. Just a very star-studded cast. There's a lot of big names in this film, and it's just brilliant. I think it's just brilliantly told, brilliantly shot, made, choreographed. The score, it's a banger, man. Everything comes together, and it's an incredibly rich, deep, powerful, entertaining, fun film. And it's a 5-star, it's a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned, an absolute masterpiece. One of my favorite films, 5 stars. It's number 2. And coming in at number 1, the only one that's left, and that's obviously There Will Be Blood. From 2007, There Will Be Blood, dude. Man, this movie. The first time I saw it, I was just like, I was speechless. Like, I was just like, dude, that was an incredible film. And each time I've seen it since, it's that impact hasn't left. Like, to me, this is incredibly. It's a brilliant film. Daniel Day-Lewis as the lead character, one of the greatest acting performances of all time, in my opinion. Top 5, it's got to be in there. The way that Daniel Day-Lewis portrays this character of Daniel Fairview, Daniel Plainview. It's brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant performance. The nuances, the voice, the movement, just everything that he's doing is just so gripping. captivating. You are absolutely glued to him when he's on screen. Paul Dano does a great job in this film. Brilliant film. Again, a very deep film. I know a lot of people interpret it as this film about capitalism versus religion and the struggle that both had to survive in the Reconstruction era of American history. I actually interpret it in a different way. I do. Maybe this just because I'm a Christian and I have Christian values and Christian morals or whatever. I actually see something completely different in this film that makes it my number one because it's incredibly powerful. But I actually see Daniel Day-Lewis's character essentially a story about man wanting to be God and what comes with that. Daniel Plainview in this movie is, he sees himself as a God-like character. He even calls himself and refers to himself as the third revelation in this film. And he tries to create life. He can't do it on his own. He fails as a father. He fails as a creator. He fails as an entrepreneur. His business ultimately fails. He fails in every way where God has proven to be victorious or proven to be God. Daniel Plainview has failed in those areas. And that is the story of man. We tried to be our own gods. We aspire to be the sovereign of our lives, and yet we fail at every turn. And that just is proof of our necessity for God and of our necessity for a higher power. It's inescapable living in God's world to reject him and try to play God ourselves. We can't do it. So I see something incredibly deep in this film. I highly doubt that was Paul Thomas Anderson's, what he was trying to do. Maybe it was. But I definitely think you can read that into the film and it fits perfectly without having to stretch anything. So, love There Will Be Blood. I think it's a masterpiece, 5-star masterpiece, one of my favorite films. And yeah, there you go. That's it, guys. That is my ranking of all 9 Paul Thomas Anderson films. Again, if you've seen all his movies, let me know your ranking in the comments section. What is your favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film? And until next time, kick it and rock on.